Captain Amelia Harris stared at the blinking console in front of her. The Pioneer, a research vessel designed for deep space exploration, drifted silently in the vast emptiness of the Andromeda Galaxy. The crew had been studying anomalies in the region for weeks, but nothing had prepared them for what came next. It started with a simple signal, a pulse so faint that it barely registered on their sensors. At first, they thought it was just static or interference from distant stars. But Amelia's instincts told her something was different about this one. It wasn't random noise. It had a pattern, a rhythm. The kind of rhythm that suggested intelligence. "Captain, you might want to see this," Lieutenant Jackson said, his voice crackling through the comms. He was at the communications station, his eyes wide with disbelief. Amelia stood and walked toward him, her boots softly tapping the cold metal floor. She peered over Jackson's shoulder, watching as he manipulated the controls, pulling the signal closer. "What is it?" she asked, her tone calm but curious. "It's a signal, Captain, but it's not from any known source. It's not like anything we've encountered before." Jackson's fingers danced over the console, decoding the signal's frequency. "And it's coming from a region we haven't mapped yet. It's deeper in uncharted space." Amelia frowned. The Pioneer had been sent to study deep space anomalies, but this was something else. "How far away are we talking?" "About 50,000 light years," Jackson replied, his voice filled with awe. "That's not just far, that's into the unknown. There's no known civilization in that area, no star systems. It's all void." Amelia stood in silence, the weight of the discovery sinking in. A signal from an unknown source, from a place no one had explored. This could be the breakthrough humanity had been waiting for, or it could be a trap, a warning, something far more dangerous than they could imagine. "Is it just a signal?" she asked, her mind racing. "Or is there more to it?" Jackson paused, then shook his head. "It's not just a signal, Captain. It's a message. It's encoded. And I think it's a blueprint." "A blueprint?" Amelia repeated, her heart racing. "A blueprint for what?" Jackson took a deep breath, his fingers hovering over the controls. "I've only decrypted a small part of it, but it's a starship design. No, it's more than that. It's a fleet of ships, each the size of a planet. And they're in deep space, just waiting for us." The words hung in the air like a bomb waiting to explode. Planet-sized starships, ships that could change everything. Humanity had barely scratched the surface of space travel, and now they were looking at something so advanced, it defied comprehension. Amelia felt a shiver run down her spine. A fleet of planet-sized ships, just waiting. For what? "Get me the crew on deck, Jackson," she said, her voice now sharp with urgency. "We need to go see this for ourselves." As Jackson complied, Amelia stared out the observation window, her gaze fixed on the endless stretch of stars. She had no idea what they were about to uncover, but one thing was certain: this discovery would change everything. The future of humanity, the entire galaxy, might hinge on what lay ahead. The Pioneer shifted course, setting its path toward the unknown. What awaited them out there in the deep void of space was a mystery, one that would test their courage, their resolve, and possibly their very survival. And somewhere, out there, hidden in the darkest corners of the universe, the fleet of planet-sized ships waiting to reveal their secrets. The Guardian's form flickered, as if it were considering her question. "We have watched your species. You have risen from nothing, survived against impossible odds. Your people have the strength, the courage, and the determination to handle what is within these ships. You were not meant to find us, but the time has come. And now we offer you the choice." The Guardian's voice seemed to deepen, the very ship around them humming with an intensity that made the air feel thick. "Do you understand the weight of what you're being asked? The galaxy is on the edge of destruction. The Empire, the one that seeks to dominate everything, is rising once again. They will stop at nothing to claim the power hidden in these ships. If you do not accept the responsibility, if you refuse to wield this power, the Empire will find it and use it to enslave the stars. Amelia felt her chest tighten. The fate of the galaxy was in their hands, and it wasn't a responsibility they could take lightly. The Guardians were offering them the keys to unimaginable power, but at what cost? Why us? Walker asked again, his voice trembling. We're just humans. We're not prepared for this. We don't even know how to use this power. The Guardian stepped closer, its figure now hovering just inches from them. Its voice softened, though its presence still filled the chamber. You are not ready, but you are the only ones who can be. The power within these ships is dormant. It must be awakened, and it will take all of your species' strength and courage to wield it correctly. But you must decide. The entire room seemed to vibrate with energy as the Guardian raised its hands, and suddenly, the walls flickered with holographic images. They showed worlds, planets in their prime, civilizations thriving and at peace. But then the images shifted, showing destruction, fire, and chaos. The Empire was on the move. Planets falling, star systems burning. The Empire will stop at nothing to seize the power of the Guardians. They will destroy everything in their path to do so. If you refuse to awaken the power within these ships, you will not be able to stop them. Amelia swallowed hard. The weight of the decision was almost too much to bear. They had no idea what kind of power they were about to unleash. The potential for destruction was enormous. But the potential to save the galaxy, to stop the Empire before it consumed everything, was just as great. Tessa's voice broke the silence. But if we accept this power, what will happen to us, to humanity? The Guardian's eyes softened. You will change. The power will shape you, just as it has shaped the creators. But the choice is yours. You must decide whether to unlock the power and face the consequences, or leave it dormant and let the galaxy fall. Amelia felt the weight of their responsibility more than ever. She turned to her crew, her heart racing. They had come this far, and now the fate of the galaxy was in their hands. The decision wasn't easy, and it was a burden none of them had asked for. But there was no turning back now. They couldn't just walk away and leave the galaxy to its fate. Prepare the ship, she said, her voice steadied despite the turmoil inside. We will awaken the power. We will fight for the galaxy. As they moved forward, each of them knew they were stepping into the unknown. But there was no other choice. They were humanity's last hope, and they would face whatever came next together. The chamber shook with an eerie hum, and the entire ship seemed to come alive around them. The Guardian's voice echoed in the depths of their minds, urging them forward. The energy in the room was almost tangible, a presence that pressed against their skin, making their hearts race. The weight of the decision was heavy on each of them, but there was no turning back now. Captain Amelia Harris stood at the center of the chamber, the full responsibility of what they were about to do settling into her bones. She glanced at her crew. Each of them wore expressions of both awe and fear, their eyes wide with the knowledge that this was not just a discovery. It was the beginning of something that could change the galaxy forever. Are you ready? Amelia asked, her voice cutting through the tension. Her team nodded, though none of them could quite hide the fear in their eyes. They weren't ready. They couldn't be. But they didn't have a choice. Let's do this, Tessa said, her voice barely above a whisper, but filled with determination. The Guardian hovered in front of them, its glowing eyes softening as it spoke. This is your final choice. Once you begin, there is no going back. The power you seek will awaken. You will become something more, but be warned. The burden of that power can break you. Amelia took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the universe pressing down on her. She didn't know if she was ready for this, but she had to be. She turned to Jackson. Activate the chamber, she ordered. Jackson swallowed hard, but did as he was told. He worked quickly, his fingers moving over the unfamiliar controls on the ship's console. The ship hummed louder as the walls seemed to ripple with energy. It was as if the entire starship had begun to pulse with life, responding to their presence, to their decision. Suddenly, the pedestal began to glow brightly. The symbols along the walls shifted and reformed, the once still holograms now coming to life before their eyes. The light from the pedestal bathed the room in a harsh, unearthly glow, casting long shadows across the chamber. The air around them grew thick with energy, the very fabric of space feeling, as if it were bending under the weight of what was about to happen. Amelia stepped forward, her hand reaching toward the glowing pedestal. "Let's do it," she said, her voice steady, despite the storm raging inside her. As her hand made contact with the pedestal, the energy in the room surged. The walls erupted with blinding light, and the sound of a low, vibrating hum filled the air. The figure on the pedestal, the Guardian, began to glow brighter and brighter until it seemed to dissolve into pure energy. Then, in an instant, the light snapped back to the pedestal, coalescing into a stream of energy that spiraled around Amelia's hand. It felt as if her very soul was being pulled into the core of the ship itself. A powerful voice, now clearer than before, filled the chamber. "It is done." The crew watched in awe as Amelia's body seemed to glow with the same energy that surrounded the room. She felt it, the power coursing through her, filling every fiber of her being. The universe felt vast and infinite, and for a moment she could sense everything: planets, stars, the flow of energy across the galaxy. But then, as quickly as it had started, the sensation pulled back. Amelia stumbled, gasping for breath, her hand falling from the pedestal. The room was quiet again, the overwhelming energy fading into the stillness. The Guardian's voice spoke once more, though now it sounded almost mournful. "You have awakened the power. It is yours to command, but be careful. The forces you now control are not easily tamed. The galaxy will feel your actions." Amelia took a deep breath, steadying herself. The sensation of power was still there, lingering just beneath the surface, a constant hum in her mind. She could feel the universe stretching out before her, like a map that was just within reach. But she also felt the weight of the responsibility that came with it. They had unlocked something far greater than they could have imagined. "We'll be ready," she said quietly, her voice trembling but firm. "We'll stop the Empire." The Guardian, now a mere silhouette in the chamber, nodded. "You are not the first to wield this power, but you are the first to bear its consequences. Be vigilant. And remember, this power is not just a weapon. It is a force of creation and destruction. It will test you." Before Amelia could respond, the Guardian's form began to fade, its voice becoming a distant echo. "The time has come. The galaxy will either rise or fall, by your hand." The chamber fell silent once more, but the weight of what they had just done pressed down on them, leaving an oppressive stillness in the air. "We've just begun," Amelia said, her voice steady now. She turned to face her crew, the resolve hardening in her heart. "We have the power. Now we need to use it. We need to prepare for what's coming." Tessa, Walker, Jackson, and the rest of the crew nodded in agreement. They had no idea what the Empire was capable of, or how they would confront the forces arrayed against them. But now they had something far greater than any weapon. They had the galaxy's last hope, and they would fight with everything they had to protect it. And this was only the beginning. The Pioneer slowly maneuvered closer to one of the planet-sized starships. Its massive hull seemed to stretch endlessly, shimmering with faint energy pulses as it hung in space like a sleeping giant. The crew aboard the research vessel was on edge, unable to shake the feeling that they were stepping into something far beyond their understanding. Captain Amelia Harris stood at the helm, her gaze fixed on the colossal ship. She couldn't help but feel the weight of the unknown pressing down on her. These ships had been waiting here, in deep space, for an unimaginable amount of time. But why? "We're close, Captain," Lieutenant Jackson said, his voice tense as he adjusted the ship's controls. "The energy readings are stronger now. It's almost like it's coming from inside the ship." Amelia nodded. Keep us steady. Let's see what we can find." The crew had been busy scanning the starship, trying to unlock its secrets. The signals they had received so far were puzzling. Some were scientific, others were more cryptic, almost as if the ship itself was trying to communicate something. Lieutenant Tessa, the science officer, turned to Amelia, her face pale. "Captain, I think we discovered something disturbing." "What is it?" Amelia asked, her heart racing. She knew something was wrong. They had barely scratched the surface of the starship, and already it felt like they were stepping into a trap. Tessa hesitated for a moment before replying. "The data we've been receiving. It's not just a ship. It's a tomb. These ships are not just abandoned. They were intentionally left here by their creators." Amelia frowned. "What do you mean by intentionally left?" Tessa bit her lip, glancing nervously at the other officers. "I've been analyzing the designs of the ship. The materials, the structure, it's like nothing we've ever seen before. It's as if these ships were built to preserve something, to protect it. And I found a series of hidden chambers deep within the hull." "Chambers," Amelia repeated, feeling a chill creep up her spine. "Yes," Tessa said, her voice barely a whisper. "The chambers contain something, but it's sealed, and the readings are off the charts, dangerously high." Amelia's mind raced. If these ships were designed as tombs, what was locked away inside? And why were the creators so determined to keep it hidden? Before she could ask any more questions, Lieutenant Walker spoke up from his console. "Captain, we're receiving another transmission. It's from the ship we're approaching. It's not a signal, though. It's a direct message." Amelia's breath caught in her throat. She walked over to Walker's station, her eyes fixed on the screen. The message flickered to life, its text simple yet ominous. "You should not have come." The words sent a shiver down her spine. The message was short, but the tone was unmistakable. Warning. Someone, or something, had been waiting for them. But who? And why? "Is it just a warning?" Amelia asked, her voice tight with suspicion. Walker continued to scan the message. "It's not just a warning, Captain. The message, it's directing us to one of the sealed chambers. It's almost like it's guiding us." "Guiding us?" Amelia repeated, her heart pounding. "Why would it do that?" "I don't know, Captain, but the ship is clearly aware of us. It's responding to our presence," Walker said. Tessa stepped forward, her face filled with dread. "Whatever is in there, it's dangerous. These ships were not meant for us. They were meant for something else. The creators, whatever they were, left these ships here as a last resort." "Last resort," Amelia echoed. "What do you mean?" Tessa swallowed, visibly shaken. "The ships are meant to protect something. Something important. Something the creators believed was so powerful that it had to be kept locked away. I think the fleet was built to safeguard a weapon that could destroy entire civilizations." The room fell silent. A weapon. The very thought of it made Amelia's stomach churn. They had only just uncovered the first layer of the mystery, and now they were on the verge of something far more dangerous than they had ever imagined. "I don't care what it is," Amelia said, her voice steady but filled with determination. "We need to know what it is. We can't turn back now. We're too close." She turned to Jackson, who was already preparing the ship to approach the chamber. "Ready the crew. We're going inside." As the Pioneer made its way towards the heart of the ship, the crew felt the tension rise. They were stepping into a dark and dangerous unknown. Whatever lay inside that chamber could change everything. Was this a weapon designed to protect, or a weapon that could bring about the end of everything humanity had fought for? Only one way to find out. The Pioneer slowly entered the massive starship's dark interior. The air felt heavy, thick with secrets, and with each passing second, the crew felt the weight of their discovery bearing down on them. They were about to unlock something ancient, something powerful, something that had been waiting far too long to be found. The Pioneer had entered the vast interior of the planet-sized starship. The ship's enormous hull loomed around them, its dark walls stretching into the shadows. Amelia Harris could feel the weight of the moment. They were inside something ancient, something that had been waiting for them. But for what? And who, or what, was waiting to meet them? "We're in," Lieutenant Jackson said, his voice low as he checked the sensors. "The ship's interior is unlike anything we've seen. It's almost alive, Captain. The walls, the floors, they pulse with energy." Amelia looked up at the strange, shifting patterns on the ship's walls. The design seemed to change as they moved, twisting and turning like the ship itself was breathing, shifting with every step. The air was thick with an energy that seemed to hum just beneath the surface, making their skin tingle. It was as if the ship were aware of them, responding to their presence. "Keep your guard up," Amelia said, her voice sharp. "We don't know what we're dealing with here. Stay alert." The crew moved cautiously through the corridors, their footsteps echoing eerily through the massive space. The ship was eerily quiet, save for the soft hum of the energy that pulsed through the walls. It was a silent, living giant, its massive scale making every movement feel insignificant. As they moved deeper into the ship, they came across the sealed chamber, the one they had been guided toward by the cryptic message. The door was unlike anything they had seen before. It wasn't a standard hatch or entryway. Instead, it was a massive, ornate archway, covered in strange markings and symbols that seemed to shift and change the closer they got. "What is this?" Tessa asked, her voice trembling slightly. She was the science officer, but even she couldn't make sense of the bizarre patterns. "It's like the ship is trying to communicate. The markings, they're not random." Amelia stepped closer to the archway, inspecting the strange symbols. She could almost hear a faint whisper in the back of her mind, like a voice calling to her, but no one spoke. The only sound was the soft hum of the ship and the crew's movements. "Let's get it open," Amelia said, pulling herself together. "Jackson, do you think you can bypass the locks?" Jackson nodded, his fingers already dancing over the control panel on his wrist. "I should be able to. But the system is strange. It's not like any tech I've worked with. It's ancient, older than anything humanity has ever seen." The crew waited in tense silence as Jackson worked his way through the lock. The air seemed to grow thicker with each passing second, and Amelia's heartbeat grew louder in her ears. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, there was a soft click. The archway began to glow, its markings shifting faster and faster, until the entire structure seemed to pulse with light. "Here we go," Jackson muttered, stepping back as the archway slowly opened, revealing the chamber inside. What they saw took their breath away. The chamber was vast, much larger than the Pioneer's entire bridge. At the center was a massive pedestal, covered in more shifting symbols. But the most shocking thing of all was what lay upon it. A figure, suspended in what appeared to be some sort of stasis, stood in the center of the room. It was humanoid, but not human. Its body was sleek and elongated, its skin shimmering like liquid metal. The figure's face was covered by a translucent visor, but there was something haunting about its posture. It looked peaceful, almost serene, but there was an undeniable sense of power radiating from it. "That's," Tessa whispered, her voice barely audible. "It's alive." Amelia stepped forward, feeling drawn to the figure. It wasn't just a statue or relic. It was something more, much more. "What is it?" Lieutenant Walker asked, his voice filled with awe and fear. "Who is it?" The Pioneer glided silently through the vastness of space, its engines humming softly as it adjusted course towards the coordinates of the mysterious fleet. The crew had gathered on the command deck, their faces illuminated by the soft blue glow of the ship's controls. Captain Amelia Harris stood at the front, her expression grim but filled with anticipation. "Captain, we're approaching the signal's origin," Lieutenant Jackson reported, his voice steady but tinged with excitement. "It's just ahead. I've never seen anything like it before." Amelia nodded, trying to keep her nerves under control. They had no idea what awaited them, no idea who or what might have sent the signal. The closer they got, the more the weight of the unknown pressed down on her. Her fingers lightly tapped the edge of her console. "Bring up the visual, Jackson," she ordered. The view in front of them shifted, showing a massive dark space filled with immense shapes that seemed to stretch on forever. The fleet, the planet-sized starships. They loomed in the distance, each one larger than anything humanity had ever built or imagined. "They're real," Lieutenant Walker muttered from his station, his eyes wide. "I mean, look at them. These ships are alive." Amelia squinted at the display, her heart pounding. There were dozens of them, scattered across the dark expanse like floating cities, their surfaces gleaming faintly with strange, shifting patterns. Some were inactive, but others pulsed with faint energy. They didn't just look like ships. They looked like entire worlds drifting in space. "Are they moving?" Tessa, the ship's science officer, asked, leaning forward. Jackson studied the sensors for a moment. "No, Captain. They're not moving at all. They're just suspended, like they've been waiting here for centuries." A chill ran down Amelia's spine. The ships were huge, massive structures that dwarfed anything humanity had ever built. Each one seemed to have its own unique design, with glowing lines crisscrossing their hulls and strange, swirling symbols etched into their surfaces. They looked ancient, yet somehow modern, as if they had been made for a purpose that was beyond human comprehension. "Have we identified any signs of life?" Captain Harris asked, her voice calm but with an edge of urgency. "Nothing yet," Tessa answered, her eyes scanning the readings. "There's a faint energy signature coming from some of the ships, but it's not like any energy we've seen before. It's almost organic, like it's alive, but it's been dormant for a long time." Amelia's brow furrowed. "Then why would someone send a signal from this place?" "The signal. It's like a beacon," Jackson added, his voice quiet. "It's almost as if it was meant for us. Whoever built these ships, they wanted someone to find them. Or they needed someone to find them," Tessa suggested, her tone growing darker. "These ships could have been waiting for something, or someone, to come and activate them." Amelia's thoughts raced. The ships were too big, too advanced to be merely relics of a forgotten civilization. They were designed to be used. But for what purpose, and what would humanity's arrival mean? "Prepare to make contact," she ordered. "Let's try to establish communication with these ships. We need to understand what we're dealing with here." As the crew began making preparations, Amelia stared at the fleet before them. The ships were silent, suspended in space like dormant titans. They held the promise of unimaginable power, but also the potential for great danger. Was humanity truly ready for this? Were they stepping into a new chapter in galactic history, or had they unknowingly awakened something far older and far more dangerous? A sudden beep interrupted her thoughts. "Captain, you're going to want to see this," Jackson said, his voice tense. He turned the display to show a new signal, a different frequency, stronger and more structured than the one they had decoded earlier. It wasn't just a pulse anymore. It was a message. Amelia leaned in, her breath catching in her chest. The message was short, but it sent a shiver through her. "The fleet is awakening. The time has come. Prepare yourselves." The words echoed in the stillness of the command deck, and for a moment, no one spoke. The crew exchanged uneasy glances. This wasn't just a discovery. This was a warning. The fleet, it seemed, was no longer waiting, and humanity was right in the middle of it. "Keep scanning," Amelia ordered, her voice sharp, "and be ready for anything. We've just opened a door to something we don't fully understand. But we're going to find out what it is." As the Pioneer slowly edged closer to the fleet, the dark void of space stretched on, endless and full of possibilities. Whatever lay ahead, humanity was no longer just explorers in the galaxy. They had become players in a game far bigger than they could have ever imagined. The room seemed to grow colder as they approached. The figure on the pedestal stirred, its body shifting slightly, as if it had sensed their presence. The air thickened, and the humming energy of the ship intensified. Suddenly, the ship seemed to come to life. The walls, once still, now pulsed with bright light, and the faint hum turned into a deep, resonating growl. The floor beneath their feet vibrated, and a low, deep voice echoed through the chamber. "Who dares awaken us?" The voice boomed. It wasn't coming from the figure. It came from everywhere. From the walls, from the air, from the very ship itself. Amelia's heart raced. The figure on the pedestal moved again, its eyes glowing beneath the visor, locking onto the crew with an intensity that sent chills down their spines. "We have waited long," the voice continued, reverberating through their bones. "And now you have come. But you must be worthy, for what lies ahead is not for the faint of heart." The figure's eyes glowed brighter, and the entire ship seemed to respond to the awakening. The stars outside the ship blinked, and a strange pull seemed to take hold of them, urging them forward. "Prepare yourselves," the voice boomed. "The time has come to reveal the truth. The galaxy is not what you think, and your role in it is far more important than you can imagine." The crew stood frozen, the weight of the moment sinking in. The ship, the figure, the strange energy, it was all connected. And now, they had awoken something far bigger than themselves. Amelia's mind raced as she looked around at her crew. They had no idea what was coming, but one thing was clear. Their discovery was only the beginning. The secrets of the galaxy were far more complex and far more dangerous than they could have ever imagined. The ship had awakened, and so had humanity's future. The chamber pulsed with energy, the walls shimmering in time with the ship's deep, resonating hum. The crew of the Pioneer stood frozen, staring at the figure before them, their minds racing with questions they couldn't answer. The beam on the pedestal, its glowing eyes fixed on them, was not just a relic of an ancient civilization. It was alive, and it was speaking to them. "Who are you?" Captain Amelia Harris finally managed to ask, her voice steady despite the whirlwind of emotions swirling inside her. "What is this place?" The figure's eyes seemed to brighten as it moved. It stepped off the pedestal with an eerie grace, its body shifting fluidly as if gravity had no hold on it. It was like watching a shadow become a physical being, a form that bent the very nature of space around it. The crew instinctively took a step back, eyes wide, but they couldn't look away. There was something mesmerizing, yet terrifying, about the way it moved. "We are the Guardians," the voice echoed from all directions. "We were placed here long ago to protect this knowledge, this power. We have waited for you, but now you must choose." The room seemed to shrink as the words hung in the air. Choose. What choice? Amelia's thoughts raced. What could they possibly be asked to choose? Choose. Lieutenant Tessa spoke up, her voice shaky but curious. "Choose what?" "The truth," the Guardian responded, its tone both commanding and calm. "You, humans, are the first to have found us in millennia. And now you must decide whether you are ready to wield what we guard, or whether you will turn away and let the galaxy fall into chaos." "Wield," Lieutenant Walker muttered. "What do you mean? What power are you talking about?" The Guardian's glowing eyes focused on him. "The power to reshape the galaxy. The power to control life itself. The power to command the forces of creation and destruction. A power that, once unlocked, cannot be undone." Amelia felt her breath catch in her chest. This was bigger than they had ever imagined. They were standing before something that could change everything, and it was asking them to decide whether humanity was ready to wield such power. "Why us?" she asked, her voice tight with both awe and fear. "Why did you send the signal to us?"